Ulta Beauty World. Let's talk about it. First, I want to acknowledge that I'm just a regular person. I'm not a beauty influencer. I created this new channel because I might want to try and get into that now that I have all this product to review and things like that. I've never been a person that overconsumes and buys a lot of things. And I'm obviously aware that so many people wanted to go and weren't able to. And honestly, those of us that got tickets were simply lucky. Unless you were already an influencer with a bunch of followers and they got special treatment. I believe some of them got invited to something that they had on Tuesday, which was for employees. So I'm going to give you my point of view as a non-influencer on how things went. And if you can see from my heating pads that I have on my shoulders, it was wild. Another thing I want to acknowledge that made me very, very lucky is that this was in Orlando and I live in Miami. So it was a very easy drive for me. And I went obviously with the purpose of collecting as much product as possible. And I was able to do that because I was driving. I wasn't shipping things anywhere. And I'll actually make a separate video just on the products that I collected. And I want to try to do every single product. I have them surrounding me in my studio home. But let's get into the madness of the day. The first thing that made this day insane was the fact that it was also held at the same time as a cheering competition. I drove up the day before, I spent the night in Orlando, and then the next morning I was up at 5 a.m., but I didn't immediately get up to go. And I should have. Because by the time I got to the convention center to go to the parking lot, there was the biggest line of traffic at 6:45 a.m. And not long after I went into the parking lot, a little bit after 7 a.m., I find out from some of the other girls that the parking lot was actually closed, like 7:30 a.m. So got very lucky there that I got there early. And I actually ran into a girl that was there since 5 in the morning. Things went wrong before the event even started. The convention center's parking lot is behind it, not in front of it. And it's also not a parking garage that's attached to the convention center. And where Ulta failed was not having any signage in the back where people were actually parked, leading them to find the way to the front. Because I'm not sure if this is how the convention center is set up, but we had to go in, go up an escalator, walk through a long corridor, go back downstairs, exit through another door, get in a long queue to get back inside of the building that we were just in. I ran into a couple girls. I saw them outside looking for the way, and I was like, hey, are you here for Ulta? So I made a couple of friends walking in. The girl that I mentioned earlier that was there at 5 a.m., she's the one that let us through to go outside and then, get the wristbands and everything. This is when things started to feel a little bit more fun. They had a DJ outside. The music was on point. Before you get inside, you had to scan your little QR code that you had. What was really cool is that they didn't check your bag for snacks. So if you end up going to Ulta Beauty World, well, the rules might be different depending on where they do it. But at least at the Orlando Convention Center, they did not check your bag for snacks, which I was so grateful for because that's what got me through the day. And so you go through security, you scan your QR code, and then you went inside to a booth where it was alphabetical order. And this is where they gave you your passport and gave you basically instructions on checking a bag if you wanted to buy a bag, which I did not spend $50 on that garbage little roller bag that they were selling. It was such a scam. I felt so bad for other girls that had to buy it because they weren't local. And so once you grab your passport, then they lead you to the activities. There were two separate entrances, and I believe both entrances had different activities because I heard some people on Reddit got their ears pierced or something like that. I'm not sure if that was inside the Ulta neighborhood or there was some activities outside, but on the side where I entered on the right side, they had a tote bag that they were handing us out, and they also had little patches for you to customize the tote. And so that was the little activity that was on my side. The right side, which was where Rare Beauty was, Sacred, Dyson, all these major brands were on the right side of the convention center. And at first there wasn't so many people, and I heard one of my little friends that I made there saying like, oh, the other side is so packed, I hope they don't find out about this side. But as time kept getting closer to 9 a.m., things started to get crowded and more crowded, and then different brands came out and were hyping us up. At one point, The Ordinary was throwing a little beach ball that of course hit me on the face. And once they opened those doors, exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. It was like everyone rushing. If you hesitated for a second to go inside, you were going to be trampled. Thankfully, all of us were like, ah! super, super excited. And because I did a lot of research before coming here, I saw like a bunch of different strategies for moving about the space. And I did what someone recommended, which was to go to the back first. Don't stop at the booths that are right at the front, because obviously everyone's going to do that. And I'm so glad I did that, because as I made my way to the back, I very quickly stopped at a couple of booths. First of all, the amount of booths that there were was completely overwhelming and actually impossible to visit all of them, even if you moved as fast as I did, or even faster than me, because I obviously went there to collect as much product as I can carry on my body, which my body is paying for it today. I was very quickly running through all these booths, and one of the booths said, "You're our first visitor, so you get 2 full-size products." And I was like, "Oh my God, amazing." And something that was a little bit unexpected for me was how well some of these brands decorated their booths to be on theme for their brands. Some brands did not really execute it that well. For example, Vacation, they had a little beach scenery going on, and they did a photo shoot as well. Here's my picture. Milani had a wall where you could try different blushes. I thought that was so cool. I was able to grab so much product so quickly because I went to the back that by 9:30 I was ready to make a trip to my luggage. And this was something that I also did not expect. If you end up going to Ulta Beauty World, keep in mind that these products are heavy. The roller bag does come in handy, but one of my friends that I met there, who coincidentally is also Dominican and also lives in Miami, I thought that was insane. She was telling me that her forearms were hurting because of dragging the suitcase along all day. Meanwhile, my shoulders were hurting because I was carrying so many different tote bags. So again, because I'm so lucky that I live here, I was able to grab as much product as I can. And in total, I made 5 trips to my luggage. The fifth one was obviously to pick up and go, but I was able to go multiple times to drop off my luggage, which was conveniently placed right outside the entrance. And because I was moving at a faster rate than most people, the first 2 times that I went to drop off on my luggage, there was no line. I was able to get straight to the front. You give them your ticket with your luggage number, and they brought it back. You went outside to load up on products and then drop it off again. One thing I will recommend, if you don't have unique luggage, which you've seen mine looks like a cow, I recommend you customize it somehow to make it easier for them to find. And as a matter of fact, towards the end, when I was already there to pick up my luggage to go home, they had lost some girls' base luggage. And that's something that they said when I was waiting in line to receive the base luggage was after my second trip to drop off luggage, and it was 10:30 a.m. and I decided, it's time to take a break, a little snack break. So I sat in front of the entrance where they were dropping off the base luggage, and someone came out and they were surprised to see a line, and they told us, "Hey everybody, you don't have to pick up your luggage now. You can come back later because there's going to be thousands and thousands of people that are also picking up the same luggage." So they were kind of anticipating that there was going to be an issue with picking up all the base luggage that looked exactly the same. And I felt really bad for that one girl whose luggage was misplaced. I really hope that they found it, because to my surprise, y'all, I had no idea that the base luggage was filled with full size product. So what I did was I grabbed my base luggage because I didn't know it was filled with product. I dropped it off at luggage check-in so that later when it's time for me to do another drop off, I can put product in there, right? So it was like maybe 12:30 by the time I was doing my third product drop off in my luggage. But this was around the time that everybody was doing their first drop off. So I was in that line for about 40 minutes. And I mean, from the moment that I went in to pick up my luggage, go outside and load up on the product, and then get back in line to drop off the luggage was almost an hour. And I was seriously shocked. I didn't expect for the base luggage to be filled with product. And I was like, no, like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? And that's when I knew that I kind of had to slow it down because I couldn't collect as much as I thought I would be able to. I ended up having to reorganize things in the base luggage and expanding the zipper. And very quickly, I couldn't even fit an eyelash in there. But thankfully, the little handbag that came with it, el bulto, I don't know what you call it was empty. So I was able to fit product in there. And in terms of how much product was given out, what size it was, and what you had to do to receive it, varied a lot depending on who the brand was. And this, I will say, is my biggest complaint. And unfortunately, what I remember the most out of this experience, aside from the pain that I feel in my body, and I'm going to get into that for a minute. Another disclaimer. I don't want to come off as ungrateful or entitled, but not everything is perfect, and a critique is a critique. Hopefully they can improve on these things, but these are my complaints. The larger brands and the larger booths made you do more, I want to say, backflips to receive a product. starting with Rare Beauty. Rare Beauty was at the very entrance. They always had a long line, and they had different activities that they made you do. They made you walk through like a little maze and collect little stickers on a cardstock that they gave you. So first you tried on the blush. Yeah, this is great. Go on to the next station, collect another sticker. All of that for at the end for you to throw a little, I don't even know what you call it, but it's like a hockey puck through a glass that has like a bunch of little dots, and like wherever it lands is a product that you receive. So waiting in line for 30 minutes, collecting some little random stickers just to get one product. I was like, dude, you guys could have at least done the set or like a lip liner or something. I will say though, it was a full size blush. That's good at least, because some brands gave away samples after they made you play little games, or they gave you nothing. One of the brands that absolutely played in my face and honestly made me so upset was Urban Decay. They had their booth like in the front. They gave you some kind of, I honestly can't even remember what I got from Urban Decay. It must have been nothing, because I've already looked through all the product and I've categorized everything, and I can't remember seeing Urban Decay products. But I went to the back, I tried on one of their lip glosses that was coming out in a couple of weeks, and I told the girl I like the shade, I like how it feels, and she says, oh great, if you like it, it's available for purchase at Ulta. I just don't even understand what the purpose of a brand going to an expo like that and not giving away product for us to try. What is even the point of you guys being there? For brand awareness, you build a loyal customer base by providing people with a pleasant brand experience, not just the cute booth, but in the way that you treat people and how you receive people. A lot of these brands, I will say, were not that approachable, which some of them was fine. Like they weren't really into doing the little stamps. They weren't into like really doing the elevator pitch. They would just like, give you product, which I appreciate that. But the brands that made you do a little scratch off, or you had to play with the little claw, the claw that doesn't grab anything. That was the only way that you would get product. And if you didn't get anything in the scratch off, if you didn't get anything in the ball thing, and if you didn't put anything around the ring toss, that we're playing ring toss, and if you didn't get anything, you did not receive a product from this brand. There was one more brand, Okoa, which I was super excited to try because obviously I've heard about them, the first Dominican brand to be sold in Ulta, which I find interesting because what about Rizos Curls? Weren't they first? Anyway, at their booth, and this is something else that I don't know if the brand has to do with it or Ulta, but a lot of the activities that these brands made you do in order to earn the product were not related to the branding at all. For Okoa, their game was stop the stopwatch at 3 seconds and you'll get a little full size something. And I tried it 3 times, and obviously that is very like 1 in a million chance, I don't even know, to stop a stopwatch at exactly 3 seconds. I did this 3 times and the girl gave me the product anyway. And again, this part, I don't want to sound entitled, but having spent the money to come here, having driven up there, a lot of people came from all over the country. I was very lucky that all I had to do was do a quick drive and I could, go home right away. Going through all of that and then playing a silly little game and then not getting anything, that was super disappointing. And it was especially disappointing when we did all of that for a sample. And I'll give you another example of a brand that played in our faces, doing entirely too much. Sol de Janeiro, long line again. And I feel like some of these brands created experiences that would cause a line to be long to kind of make it seem like there's hype. Okay, stay with me. Sol de Janeiro, long line, just like Rare Beauty and Dyson. Dyson was impossible. So the line was so long at Sol de Janeiro that they were swabbing with this new jelly balm perfume that they have, which smells amazing. They were swatching you with the jelly. Then the second stop was spraying it with a body spray on top, kind of pairing and matching that. The third stop was a guy asking you, what ingredients do you think are in your favorite scent? But by the time when we got to this guy doing us a fucking quiz, we didn't remember what the original scent was from 15, 20 minutes ago. So I was just standing there like, and here's the worst thing. I didn't even receive the product that I wanted. So this video wasn't meant to be about product. I just wanted to talk about the experience. But since I'm talking about Sol de Janeiro, I'm just going to tell you. This is the jelly perfume balm, okay? You open it, it's a little jelly, okay? This is not the scent that I wanted. I'm keeping this one for my sister, who actually paid for the ticket for me to be able to go and collect product for everybody. So, she got priority on some products. And so the scent that I wanted was this red one, but they gave me a keychain. I tried opening it. It's sealed in silicone. It feels hard, like something is in there, But the fact that it has this thing makes me think that it's a keychain and it's not even a real product. And speaking of scents, something that I realized after going to so many different booths and smelling so many different types of fragrances, I realized that I think these brands use the same manufacturer for their scents. And I say this because by the time I was making my last round and taking my time and making sure that I didn't miss any booth, I went into Mills's booth, which is Millie Bobby Brown's brand. I guess she has one now. And I smelled some vanilla spray and it kind of hit me like, whoa, this smells just like every other vanilla scent that I have smelled today. So that part I was a little bit turned off by. And obviously, these are the brands that are giving away full size of products, whereas other brands, obviously like Prada, were not giving away full size perfume. I did, however, get a full size Gucci perfume. Now, I didn't intend to stop for lunch. I wanted to just eat my snacks, but I obviously wasn't going to make it. And unfortunately, I had to eat. And I ended up spending $20 for the saddest bowl of rice, chicken, and broccoli. One girl was really smart and she actually DoorDash herself some yummy food. And I should have done that. And that's a tip for you if you end up going to Ulta Beauty World. DoorDash yourself some food because the food inside is expensive, it's not that great, and it's very small portions. And now for the parts that I didn't get any video for. Once I got my luggage out for the fifth and final time, I had no idea how difficult it was going to be to roll this 200-pound luggage on this carpeted floor, y'all. To make it out of the luggage area, oh my God, this sweet guy who was shorter than me and skinnier than me, I felt so bad for him. He offered to help me just drag it out to the floor outside of the carpeted area. And he put his entire body into that luggage. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? So as I'm walking out, I ask one police officer that was there, hey, what's the best way to get to the back? Because I wanted to find a way, maybe through the street or something, but unfortunately there was no way through except through the inside. And this was another bonding opportunity for the girls and I, which every girl that I met there was so freaking awesome, especially the young girl that was at the vacation booth. She encouraged me to take that picture. I was like, no, 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 I don't want to. She was like, you'll regret it. And after I did it, I was like, you were right, girl. And I actually walked into her on my way out, and I'm really silly and I forgot who she was. She was like, hey, and I was like, oh, you don't look like you got a lot of stuff. She's like, well, I was working. And I was like, duh. So all of us girls that were walking through this carpeted floor with our heavy bags, stuck in a stuffy elevator. And this was another issue to even make it out of there. Initially, I had walked all the way to the back where I first took the elevator down and then had to walk to the front. That elevator was down. There was another girl that was back there with me. So we both walked towards the front again. Then we found another girl and we all got in the elevator. You really had to put your whole body into pushing this luggage out. And obviously, it fell many times. My knees are bruised from trying to navigate it. I really felt like the wheels were going to break. And at one point, we had to take another elevator because you had to go up to the second floor, walk all the way to the back, take another elevator down to exit the street. That second elevator that we took was making noise. It was sounding like it was at capacity, and we were all freaking out like, ugh. But by the time we made it to the first floor, everything was fine. We got out. And then when I made it across the street to the parking lot, I couldn't even lift the luggage by myself. I tried. I really did. But thankfully, somebody walked by. They were actually parked next to me and they were leaving. And I asked them, oh, please, can you give me a hand with this luggage? And he helped me hoist it up. And I packed all my things and drove back to Miami. Having experienced that and having done that, I can confidently say that I will never do that again. I commend all the girls that flew here, and I can't even imagine how expensive it was to ship all that product. And obviously, they couldn't collect as much as they wanted to because it's so expensive to ship it back. So, in order for me to be able to go, well, first of all, I'd have to get lucky again to get a ticket. Second of all, it would have to be in the state of Florida. But as soon as I left, I knew that that's not something that I ever want to do again. Although I'm so grateful because I've been in a period of unemployment for 10 months now, and all of my products have completely dried out. Mascara, foundation, everything was just dried out. And now I look at my little collection of perfumes. When I only had one, now I have four, and it makes me so happy. And I'm super grateful that I got to experience this, but I would not do it again. And stay tuned for the haul that I'm going to do. I'm going to pull out every single product that I got, and I'm going to show you what I got. And that's a wrap for Ulta Beauty World for me. See ya!